Hey guys, Justin in Nashville with ABR. This week we worked with Katie Switzer, who hails from Kentucky, about 4 to 5 hours away from here. So they drove in on Sunday to get started with us. Katie's been a successful user of a posterior mount P-light system for several years now, but the main reason why she was here this time around is because she was having some fit issues of her residual limb inside of the socket. Katie has gained about 10 pounds in about a year and about 2 centimeters of volume all the way through her residual limb. So that created a lot of fit issues with her current P-light and socket setup here. The main issue she was having is, one is in this P-light, she was unable to achieve total contact on the bottom of her P-light. So this is an expandable wall with the slit here, but her residual limb was getting about where my finger was at, and she wasn't getting all the way to the bottom, so all this was just kind of caving in on her. And so because the socket trim lines weren't in the area that they have been in for, close to a year, it created a lot of skin breakdown and skin irritation on the posterior aspect of her calf, which we've been trying different socks. We thought it was fungal related. We thought it was just soiled socks. We thought it was improper donning or doffing of the prosthesis. And so after multiple rounds of different types of antifungals, hydrocortisone cream, changing out socks, trying to modify the P-light, we kind of just determined to eliminate all variables. It'd be best to get her down here and really see eye to eye, or eye to leg, I guess, on what exactly was going on. And so what we determined is, yes, she has grown in volume about 2 centimeters, and yes, she has gained some weight, and the socket was no longer hitting her in the areas that we anticipated the socket to hit in when it was fitting about a year ago. And so because she's very active, she's involved in volleyball, she runs on track. I don't know if she's doing basketball anymore right now, but she's a very, very active prosthetic user. And so due to her activity, we really didn't want to have any more setbacks with chronic skin breakdown and skin irritation in the back end of her leg. And so when she got here, the first thing we did was look at her residual limb and take some measurements. And we'll just have her slip her prosthesis off quickly here. She's wearing this gray Swiftwick sock. This is kind of like a 2 to 3 ply sock. Never really measured that. And this is her P-light, very similar to what she has, a stovepipe P-light with a slit. And let's show your skin off there, Katie, please. This is her residual limb. So she's bulbous distally. She can bear all of her weight on the bottom. She does have a little bit of a bony prominence right here, which we accommodated for in the lamination by putting like a 3mm pad inside the lamination. So when she pushes through the P-light, she doesn't go on a hard lamination. She does have a void built into her socket. And on the lateral aspect here, we are kind of suspending where it becomes bulbous at. So Katie was getting a lot of her skin irritation in this area of her prosthesis, a very scaly, blistery type abrasion that I think was attributed to shear, and basically the P-light was hanging out in about this level on her leg versus achieving total contact and being fully on her leg. So to eliminate the issues of fit, it was important for her to get down here. We made her a new prosthesis. Again, she grew 2 centimeters here and about 10 pounds in body weight. And so we recast it directly over the skin, fit a bivalve buyback on Sunday. And then we were in a test socket with a posterior mount foot, which she's accustomed to. She's had this posterior mount foot over a year. It's still in good condition. It's not over categorized. And so she's acclimated to this type of foot already. So all we were working on this time was just getting a new socket that's fitting her residual limb anatomy better. And so I think we've achieved that. This is the first day on the final lamination, but she's been testing out the fit of the test socket for about 2 days now. And so after dialing in some alignment, the main thing we had to do to this foot was there's a heel bumper inside of the foot that kind of restricts how much compression goes on from the heel plate to the pylon. That rubber bumper was blown out, and so we replaced it with a firm heel bumper. That's the only maintenance we had to do to this foot, but this foot has lasted, and because she grows, it still has this bracket. We can adjust the height bracket to her current height changes, but same foot, new bumper, and then the adjustability of the bracket allows us to keep everything the same. All we had to do was unscrew the socket from the foot, make a new socket, and realign it on here. So that's what we have today. Is she has this new prosthesis that we're dialing in, and to make sure what we're doing here is right, she's gonna be wearing this setup for about 6 weeks to 2 months to make sure she doesn't get any more skin irritation on the posterior aspect of her leg here. And then if all is good, we're gonna finish it out with another running blade, doing the same kind of suspension method we have here. So we do anticipate some growth, and so we're starting off in a slightly thicker sock. And over time, probably in the next 6 months, she'll be going to a thinner sock, and then an even thinner sock. When she came here, she was wearing a sock slightly thicker than this, and this sheath over the P-light. That's the thinnest setup she could kind of tolerate to get her actual residual limb inside of the prosthesis. Because she is still going to be growing, we wanted to allow room for change in the prosthesis itself by using a thicker sock, and as she continues to grow, she can go to thinner socks and thinner socks. So this will allow us room for adjustability and growth in the future. So this is how she puts her leg on. She's just going to throw this sock on her leg. And then we have this P-light. What we did differently on the P-light compared to this one is normally we slit them, but we found when you punch holes where the slit ends, it prevents them from running down the P-light, so we try to do that just to make them last a little bit longer. She washes this P-light using some UV lights. UV lights are good for killing bacteria, and she has those, and so you still need to wash your P-light every day, especially for her activity level. And so she changes the sweat socks out in between school and her sport activities that she's doing. Cleans her P-light with UV lights and soap and water. And again, the UV is just to kill bacteria, because you still need to clean your P-light. It's just they don't retain as much bacteria as gel liners do. So she just puts clean socks on every day, cleans her P-light, and this is her everyday walking setup. She uses this for volleyball, some running, and when she wants to do basketball and stuff like that. So this is her everyday walking foot. We just made some changes to the alignment, and so I think it's all dialed in now. So we'll put Katie's other shoe on, and then she'll just go for a walk and maybe do a couple lateral shuffles to show off the movement. And if all goes well, we'll be good for another year. We anticipate changes as they continue to grow until they meet skeletal maturity. So changing out sockets as they grow is pretty normal. I'm pleased that this foot has lasted this long, and so not much going on here besides normal growth. That's why she's down in Tennessee for this week. There you go. Alright, so that's the posterior mount All-Pro on the anatomical suspending P-light setup there. And so like I said, it should be good for another year or so, as long as she's not growing rapidly. But more importantly, we're going to see how it does on her skin now that the trim lines are at the appropriate height. And you might notice these trim lines are similar to the other trim lines we have incorporated with some of these people with similar amputations. So she's accustomed to these trim lines. We start her off in these trim lines, and so she has no laxity in her knee. That's why we've gotten away from these trim lines, and she's done just fine with them so far. So thanks for traveling from 4 hours away. See you in a year.